Hello. The illustrator that I wanted to talk about and do research on is Todd McFarlane. So a little bit about Todd McFarlane is that he's was born March 16th, 1961 in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and he's currently 63 years old. His wife at the moment is Wanda Kolomajic, and his children are Sion, Jake, and Kate. And what he does as a profession is he's a writer, a publisher, an inker, and a penciler. And you know over the years he's gone to make a big name for himself in the comic industries, and his career really took off in the 1980s and to around like the 1990s, and that's when like his name was like really echoing in the comic industries. And with one of his favorite comics is Action Comics #1. And to talk what he does is, well, he's an illustrator, but one of what his style is, he's learned through the years is like, working for Marvel. Um, uh, his style is like very unique in the sense that he always has a lot of details in his lines, and that's what made him stand out from most illustrators because of the details he put into his illustrations. And he's learned things like if in doubt, black it out. And what that means is to like, if you're bad at drawing hands or feet, hide them, um, and like in tall grass or like maybe behind the character, because he would describe it as like, you have your foreground or something like something in front of you, and then the face would be the middle, and then behind them, like a hand behind would be the back. And his like he basically draws with a perspective in mind, and he wants to create 2D and create as much depth as he can. And so to say, one of his famous characters that he's worked on was Spider-Man. And here's some of images of his work. The one in the middle right here is from the Amazing Spider-Man, and he was just a penciler, and he would help illustrate along with the comics. And but like, and during this time he learned about like the Marvel method, and like what that is. Like for years and years, as he's described, the writers would only give an outline of what they would wanted the pages to look like to the artist. um he would have to interpret a couple of pages of outline and turn them into 20 pages, and it consisted of 5 people who work on the comic book. So the first one's like a writer, then there's the penciler, that's the one that does like the outline, and then there's the inker, the one that puts in the black ink, and then there's the colorist, the one that fills in the pages with colors, and then there's the letterer that takes the script from the writer and makes like the text bubbles as you normally see like in a comic book, and that's what would create the comics. And so from this, after like the Amazing Spider-Man, one of the things that got him kicked off in his career was Spider-Man, the series Spider-Man Torment, and this one over here to the left is Spider-Man Torment. What it The reason why it was so big is because it was his first story that he ever wrote when he became a writer on Spider-Man. And he made innovations on Spider-Man, so to him like Spider-Man was just all bug, which is why like he made him iconic during this time, during like because of the eyepieces, his lenses, they made him big. And he would also add extra webbing to the characters, and also put him like in these like um, put Spider-Man in these dynamic poses. And he made innovations like to Spider-Man in that way. And he also reinvented the webbing. And part of the what's funny about the freakish poses of Spider-Man is that when it came around, when Sam Raimi was making the Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, um, Todd McFarlane didn't really take into consideration of anatomy. So it was just when it got to like, putting the character like on the big screen in real life, it was hard to recreate the poses because they're just inhumanely impossible. One of the famous characters that he's created through his years of illustration was the character known as Venom from the Marvel Universe. To him, he describes Venom as a complete and utter happy accident in the sense that he didn't like the black suit on Spider-Man. So when he took over the Amazing Spider-Man, he got gave Spider-Man back his original his classic costume, and then didn't ditch the idea of the black suit and had Venom on the side as like this monstrous figure. And from that, like he would describe like his process for that, like making him like as big as the Hulk, but also like his mouth was like the signature of Venom. Um, he's noted that like he hates straight teeth on monstrous characters. Like he would describe it like they're monsters. They don't go to dentists. After working at Marvel for years, he alongside with illustrators Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld started a small independent comic book company known as Image Comics on February 1st, 1992. And it was really because the reason why they did this is because they wanted to own their own ideas, work with their own ideas without having to worry about copyright, like, from Marvel, um, which is like was a huge drive for why they wanted to do that. And he was a co-founder in Image Comics. And so, Image Comics has made like huge titles, like some like may maybe you heard of them before. Like there's Invincible, Spawn, Tech Jacket, The Astounding Wolfman, Youngblood, and there's also The Walking Dead and many others. In 1992, the first independent character that he wrote for Image Comics was the character known as Spawn. And one of the things that I like about part of the story for Spawn that he got inspired from was because he explained that he was like, getting burnt out on the whole idea of like someone coming back from the dead to get revenge. And it was during around this time when he was writing for Image Comics that he met his wife, his current wife, and so he got inspired to write the story about like a dead person coming back from the dead for love. And I just thought that was a really cool uh, feature about Spawn. But something because around this time, since he's made a big name for himself, um, when Spawn debuted, he sold about 1.7 million copies, which as of 2007 remained a record for independent comic books. Um, and this started like a trend in creators creator-owned comic books. Um, but another cool thing to note about Spawn is that when creating this character, he took inspiration from his portfolio because originally when he was auditioning for Marvel, the character design of Spawn was in his portfolio, and this is like part of the reason like why he got to Marvel. He never got to utilize the character in Marvel, but it's really cool that he got to use it as his own independent character. And when asked in interviews like about continuity, um, someone asked him, he got a letter from someone asking like, how come in this issue Spawn has like 4 spikes, but then in this one he has 3, and, and how come like his leg pouch is on the left leg and now it's on the right leg? And so him as an illustrator, he decided to himself he can either like admit like he messed up, or the other option was he could just say, well, the suit is alive. So that was him as an illustrator and designer, trying like finding a loophole for himself, like, and adding to the character more, like, like the reason why like there's inaccuracy in the suit is because the suit is alive. So I thought that was like a neat trick about it too to get around it. And so with that said, Image Comics ran for a while, but in 1999, I believe they sold to DC Comics. But other than that, this is Todd McFarlane's work, and you can see like a bit in the on the far left, you can see how the Spawn holds characteristics from what he was doing The Amazing Spider-Man or Spider-Man Torment. And I just love to see into the right. It's like more like the evolution of his work, and so I just think he's really cool as an illustrator. Thank you for your time.